Hello, this is DanO, and I'm here with my partner, Toddy Walker, again to talk about music, specifically good music, and I don't know, maybe a few other things if we get around to it. Bourbon and Briar Podcast.
Got the bourbon.
Toddy's always got the bourbon. I got the briar. If you're not familiar, it's the wood that my pipes are made from. So anyway, Toddy and I have a shared passion, and I emphasize passion for music and good music. We wouldn't be spending our time talking about this if we really didn't care about it. If it doesn't come across, then we got to do a better job because it's a passion. So tonight, just a few other steps along the spectrum of that conversation. Toddy, anything you want to say in terms of the intro here and what we're going to talk about?
Well, yeah, I know we've led up to this point talking about the golden era of music, and I think we have kind of conceded that is, 1968 to 1982, 67 to 82, somewhere in that range.
Right.
Once again, somebody disagrees with that, tell us why. But the bands that formed the basis of this show all fall within that timeline for the most part. I've been sending you this thing. It's a list of bands that not necessarily that you've seen, but that you had the opportunity to see. Yeah. And that from David Bowie, Rolling Stones, Dire Straits. It just goes on and on and on. And all of these bands were compressed into this time frame that is just incredible.
Right.
So, and that leads us into tonight. And I know we're going to kind of venture out based on a little previous conversation, but that band was really heavily involved in that era. So I'm ready. Like I said, let's get it on.
All right, man. So, as I've talked to people who have talked to me about the podcast and the conversation in general, one of the questions that I hear more often than others is, okay, you keep talking about good music. DanO, what makes it good music? And that's a complex question. And I would never sit here and claim to have the world's patent on the definition of that. But there are some quantitative things that you can start with. For instance, longevity. A band or an artist, if they've been around, if they were around for 8, 9, 10, 15 years, there's a pretty good chance that they are a good band making good music. I really don't want to sound like I'm just beating up on current music constantly because, like Don and I've agreed.
There's been some shit that's been around for a while too.
But there's also good stuff out there now. So when I talk about today's music and I think about, God, you get an artist that, they throw up 1, 2 songs, maybe 3, and then they're gone. And they're an artist, not a band. I can't name a 4 or 5 piece band, currently that's playing other than the people we talk about, like Goose, Trigger Hippie, the Houndmouth, that, have been around for a little bit of time. But longevity is certainly a quantitative measure. And if you go back to that golden era, in my chart that I had worked out on my whiteboard and now have in almost completely in an Excel spreadsheet, you can see that, the bars stretch across multiple years, Toddy. And you and I have talked about the fact that, a band like Dire Straits, the sheer longevity of that band, it says something about the quality of the music, which segues into the next thing, which is quality. Now, Toddy, what would you add in terms of you run into somebody on the street? Hey, man, you like good music? Yeah. What's good music? How would you answer that?
Like I said, you touched on the longevity part, and I do think that plays a huge role. But like I said bluntly a while ago, there's been a lot of crappy bands that have endured for 10 more years. Now, that seems to be more the norm today than it was, say, in that 15-year time frame that we keep going back to. But one of the things that, for me, it is the evolution of that band. And they did something.
That's a great point
on this album, and they all not completely reinvent themselves, albeit some of them do. David Bowie, great example.
Yeah.
I call the chameleon of rock and roll right there. Every album was something different. So it was this evolution.
Growth.
There you go. I'm not an overly huge punk fan, and I kind of got force-fed Green Day by Trent.
I can't imagine, man.
But I developed an appreciation for them because, once again, they evolved. And I saw an interview with Billy Joe Armstrong one time, and he was talking about from the Dookie album to American Idiot and how they got from point A to point B. And his comment was, it's kind of hard to be a 30-year-old punk. And I thought about that, and that's gold.
It's such an attitude thing, man.
Yeah. And once you've got a wife and children, and you're driving
soccer games,
you're driving a minivan. So his songwriting took on a more, I don't know, maybe political slant, especially with American Idiot. That's the growth and the evolution that I'm talking about. So if you're going to spew out the same shit album after album, you're not going to last. It's just not. Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, and that's such a great point about the evolution and growth. I was listening to a Dire Straits song today. It just popped up on my what's my Apple Music list? Get Up. That's the name of the playlist that Apple offers me. And so times like this afternoon when I'm out cutting grass, get up. And this Dire Straits song came on, and Toddy, it when I heard it, it was like, okay, I didn't necessarily think about it when I heard it initially, but it's almost a punk song. It really is almost a Dire Straits punk song. And if you think about that band and where they went from Sultans of Swing all the way through Brothers in Arms, I mean, man, evolution.
Oh, there you go.
Really? Growth, change. Yeah. And so it was just another example of there's one way to add a quantitative element to this, and there's a huge part that is qualitative. I mean, there are some people that are going to tell me Lil Wayne is the bomb, and they're not going to back off from that. And I don't know that I can tell them that my opinion of that, but I can't tell them they're wrong. So there's always a qualitative piece of this, that has to come into play, and I acknowledge that. But there's a quality to that music that you and I call good music. No matter what else is there, there may be some silliness there. Southern Culture on the Skids is one of the bands I really enjoy. But yeah, there's some silliness there, but there's quality underneath all of that. So yeah, there are things, characteristics that you start to get to or can get to for how you draw the line on good music, good bands, and not. I'm looking at my spreadsheet here, Tiny, and Steely Dan. Yeah, that's one that just jumps out at me as a band that has satisfied not only the longevity part, but gosh, the quality part. I don't think anybody would argue that band has created some of the highest quality music that's ever been recorded. So I don't know, a lot of albums over a long period of time, but I'm just curious, like what when you think about Steely Dan, do you have some kind of an order of, man, if I'm going to go pick one to listen to, this is going to be it?
Damn. All right. If I had to pick, and guess and you can't reserve the right to change your mind tomorrow. Maybe.
Oh, sure you can. Yeah, this is amongst friends.
But if I had to pick right now, Countdown to Ecstasy. It is probably their most underrated record. But you had this, once again, that growth, or a dynamic shift, whatever you want to call it, from Can't Buy a Thrill to Countdown. And that that record is one of my just daily go-tos. Yeah, there's something about it that just draws you in. I mean, showbiz kids, yeah, there's that line in it, don't give a fuck. Yeah, nor do I. Yeah, nor do I. So maybe that's where it all comes from. But that record right there is phenomenal. And if I had to pick one out of that whole catalog, it's going to be Countdown. Yeah, and I know most people. There's Asia, there's Goucher. I mean, we could go on it, but that one right there for me is it's musical gold.
Yeah, well, that's so the difficulty with focusing on Steely Dan is they obviously meet the longevity piece of the a quantitative measurement, but from a qualitative, my gosh, if you're listening to Ricky Don't Lose That Number versus Black Cow, you make it completely different qualitative responses of I love it or no I don't. And they that so the evolution, the growth part obviously was magnified with that band. And I know that for me, I listened to early Steely Dan and I enjoy it for one reason or another. But then I go to Gaucho, which honestly, if I just had to throw out an answer, for me, it's probably Gaucho. But Toddy, the reason as much as anything is what I associate with that album. That it came with, it came in a time when we were seniors in high school and moving into, in our case, junior college at the time. That was way before Auburn. It was that timeline, and just so much of that influenced where that album sat in my list of the ones that I love and cherish.
Now, here's perspective. Can't Buy Thrill came out in 1972. Gaucho, 81, best I can remember. So now, here's your perspective. What's that, 10 years? You've got Can't Buy Thrill, Countdown to Ecstasy.
Well, it was before 81. It was, no, Gaucho was out in 80.
Okay. All right, so we'll stay within a 10-year period. Can't Buy Thrill, Countdown, Pretzel Logic, Katie Lied, Royal Scam, Asia, and then Gaucho. That's going to be hard to top by anybody. By anybody. And here's what I'm saying. You said something about, somebody may go, I don't really like Steely Dan. Don't trust that fucker. Right there. I'm telling you right now, if they throw that out there, cut them loose. Be done with them.
So man, somewhere in here, I guess is a part of our mission statement. We're going to have to add, like, speak your mind. Say what's on your mind. Wait a minute. I think we've done it.
But no, am I wrong?
You are not wrong, sir.
I probably should choose better description there, but but now that band was evolutionary, and and I maintain this: Asia is considered one of the great records of all time, and I don't dispute that at all. But what I question is, had Gaucho been released before Asia, would it have the same spot in the great record pantheon that Asia does?
I don't know.
It's hard to say. I mean, because Asia is a classic, and it probably wouldn't matter when it came out. But and you and I've talked about this all the time about Gaucho. The spacing on that record is phenomenal of what they put together.
So time out for the audience. When Todd talks about spacing, he's really talking about the space that's created for the notes to exist. It's equalization, it's dynamics, but it's a place for the notes to live. Am I right?
That's it. And think about what they cram in or lack of into that space. And it's not about putting as much stuff in one little space as you can. That's what makes them, for me, one of my top 3 bands ever. Yeah,
Oh,
and you know who the other two are as well. Yeah, it goes without, and they also fall in that same kind of wheelhouse.
And so again, for those watching at home, I create music under the pseudonym of Orbital Motion, where I'm literally playing every part of some band. And then I do the mixing, and then I do the mastering. And in that process, I send it to Todd. And I say, hey, man, what do you think about this? And he came back with a comment about, I love the spacing. And I was like, spacing? What exactly do you mean? And when he explained it to me, it was absolutely a perfect term to encompass all the things that I just talked about. And it's something that, man, gosh, I know it's not gaucho, but if you move into Nightfly and Donald Fagen solo and you get to Ruby Baby, my gosh, you could drive a freaking truck through the spaces in the notes of that album, that song. It's just amazing. And boy, I know exactly what you're referring to, Toddy.
While you're on his solo stuff, check out the album Sunken Condos and the song Weather in My Head.
All right, hold on. Sunken Condo. I don't know how to spell sunken, but I'm close.
Sunken.
What I got. Sunken Condos, what was the song?
The song is Weather in My Head.
Okay.
Just give it a listen. Let me know what you think.
Okay.
At all. That band, okay, let's go down. Katie Light, see, you started this thing rolling, and when you, and so now you think about, damn, Katie Light deserves a place at the table for no more than, or for no other reason than Kid Charlemagne. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So now, can you stop right here? Let me do something right quick, and come right back, like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
All right, you can edit that. I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right. Sorry about all that.
No problem.
And this is Steve.
Steve? Wait, who's Steve?
Steve.
Oh, the Monkey Man.
No, where he come from, but he worked. So I'll go countdown. You'll go gaucho. But have you ever thought about how would you rank? Two Against Nature with Standing. And it's a good record, like you said. It's kind of hard to say. Not good when it won Grammys. But it doesn't fit in this timeline that we like to talk about. So if you had to sit down and put a pen and paper to, like we're going to do, Can't Buy a Thrill, Countdown, Rose Cat, all of them, how would you rank them?
Well, wait a minute. I wasn't prepared to answer that question tonight. But I would certainly start. I would certainly start with gaucho. I mean, just for me, and like I said, honestly, it has more to do with the point in my life that album was introduced to me, as much as anything. Can't Buy a Thrill, Pretzel Logic. Gosh, Toddy, I'd have a tough time, trying to put just those two in perspective to each other. So give me a chance to think through that a little more carefully. I can tell you that, the top of my list would be gaucho.
And there's nothing that anybody could dispute that with. It's like I said, at the end of the day, great record.
Yeah, well, there's another thing though, Tony, and I don't mean to interrupt, but it's a point that I wanted to bring up, and this is maybe a good segue to it, and that is the force of vinyl in the world of music today. It's incredible to watch how that has come back to the mainstream, especially to audiophiles and the people that really truly care about not just can I hear a thump, but can I hear the delicacy of the cymbal that's being played at some really low volume in between a keyboard part that's somewhere in the middle. Vinyl just, like you said the other night, it's the soul of the music. And that was a perfect way of saying it. But as I've gotten more and more enthralled about the vinyl world, and honestly, it kind of caught fire when the Mark Knopfler box set came out. With his what's the name of it? Oh, the bridge. Think of the name of it in a minute. Anyway, it's a medium that brings something completely different to the table. And in the process of that, you start to learn that there are certain albums that people consider as sort of the ultimate, the criteria for the gold standard for testing out a stereo system or comparing one album versus another album and how it was mastered. And you find that, oddly enough, Toddy, a lot of the things that we call good music, i.e., Dark Side of the Moon, Fleetwood Mac, Rumors, uh, Gaucho, those are the albums that show up amongst others. I mean, Miles Davis, obviously, and multiple others, but those show up as if you really want to push the corners of the box and checking out your system and checking out your ears and appreciating what somebody did in the process of mastering that piece of music, not just playing it, but mastering it. Those are the things that you want to use. And as I've done that, I'm going to get to a point. I've got a question here, Toddy, I promise. But as I've gotten to there, I found myself going back more and more and listening to older albums that I hadn't listened to in a long time. I could dial them up on iTunes any minute of the day from anywhere, but I don't, but I come home and I put on Supertramp and I listen to Crisis, What Crisis, and it just blows me away. So I've really had this awakening. My question is, have you had anything vinyl related that caused you to get back to something that you always enjoyed, but you just kind of put it aside because you didn't want to punch it up on iTunes? But today, if you can put it on vinyl and listen to it, you would.
As crazy as this may sound.
No, there's no guardrails on crazy and
Well,
us.
the first record I bought was Uriah Heep's Demons and Wizards. I was maybe 10, I'm guessing. And let's be honest, I bought it because I thought the album cover was cool at all.
Done that.
And once this vinyl craze kind of kicked back off, I got on a search because I don't have that record no more. I have no idea what became of it. It was lost.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy, man? I realize I know there are 3 albums that I don't have that I used to have. And where would they go? Where would they go?
But no, that's one thing I could say about the internet was I was able to find a copy of Uriah Heep's Demons and Wizards, and I bought it. And it's just to put it on and be transported back to 1972. And I'm in my room, 1208 South Edgewood, phones on, in my own little world. Had no clue what I was listening to.
Trying to figure out life.
Yeah, and all. So it did prompt that. And it's funny you bring this up because before we started tonight, I showed you this, which is obviously Atlanta Rhythm Section's rock and roll alternative. That's one, that I have hung on to, and it has made all of these moves with me. It hasn't gotten broken. It hasn't gotten lost. And right. I've got a box over there of them, and I cherish those records. I really do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, those that I no longer have that just time took away or whatever, I'd like to get them.
Or Trevor.
There is some in Atlanta at his house because I am picking them up and I go, damn, that's mine. Bring it back.
Trevor is my name for Trent.
No, he is the living the life of the starving musician in Atlanta. But hey, kudos to him.
So go ahead.
Okay, the albums you had from when we all had turntables. Do you still have a substantial number of them?
Yeah. Oh, I'd say I'm at 98%. And the great news here is, I tell people whether it's music or whether it's life. I seem to have been the blessed Plinko chip. Going back to The Price is Right and that crazy game that you drop a chip off the top of the board and it hits pegs. I've been the blessed Plinko chip, and somewhere along the way, way in lower priorities, was the fact that even though I threw away all the cassettes I ever owned, I kept all the albums I ever owned, all the vinyl. And like I said, I've lost a few, but most of them I still have.
Yeah, and that's interesting that the cassettes were not deemed worthy to keep. Yeah, but that record was.
Yeah.
But it goes back to that record had art, and then when you slid that sleeve out, there's the liner notes.
Man, that's another great point, man.
It was the package.
Yeah, yeah, great point.
And now the meat of that package was off the record, but it was so much more. And once again, that headphones on, put that record on, you read those, the liner notes along with the song. It just, I don't know, made you feel like you was in the band.
All right. I'm not going to edit this part out, Toddy, but give me 5 seconds.
Sure.
I guess I could do the Les Nessman thing and just like, you don't see me. I'm invisible. I didn't leave. No. So again, my curiosity led me to Duke the other night, and along the way, I'm sitting there and I'm just marveling at the fact
Look at
that inside this album cover is just this. It's a not only just lyrics, but it's a description of the song. The individual song. Man, you didn't get that with a cassette, and you don't get it with a CD.
No, absolutely not. And CDs were so, and don't get me wrong, I've got a room full of them. And that's what for the most part, it's what I put on, especially when I leave in the mornings. How many times have I told you, well, today's a such and such day? I'll grab 2 discs on the way out. That's what I'll play.
Yeah.
But they have digitally taken the soul out of the record. It is so perfect. It sounds so good. Any error, mistakes, gone.
It's clinical.
Yeah, and that's what I meant about the soul. Now, something until about that crackle of the needle was always cool.
Well, and Toddy, I have shared with you my amusement at new music recorded digitally that literally added an artificial crackle to the sound to try to make it sound more like that vinyl. That's bullshit. It's just crazy, man.
Yeah, now come on now.
But when you and I went to see Jack White in Huntsville, that leading up to that, one of the things that I talked about is I see him as something organic in a clinical world, and whether it's for you, not you, Toddy, but the royal you, if you find somebody or some band that is organic as opposed to clinical, that thing that unfortunately seems like we're living in a petri dish or something. I don't know, but if you can find that organic music, then you found something special, and just appreciate it.
And talent usually does develop organically. Think about it. With technology today, you can take somebody, as long as they look good in front of a camera, maybe, and you can prop them up, in a studio, get what sound you want out of it, and
put on a short skirt.
Sell millions.
Johnny Bravo.
Point. There you go.
I love me some Brady Bunch.
Not to be confused with Johnny Blue Sky.
No.
Who's about as organic as it gets.
Yes.
So, but talent is going to win out. It always does. And so, and that's why, as this podcast has developed, we have this at the end, our new music minute. And because that's one thing this has forced me to do, and that is see what else is out there. And maybe
it's about time to do that minute, Toddy.
Well, that's what I kind of figured we were getting close. I'll hold that thought. It has made me realize there's good stuff out there.
Oh, yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
You just got to
Yeah.
find it. And there's
Yeah.
talented
Excuse me.
people out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's
Yeah.
also lots not,
Well,
sadly.
yeah, that's the other thing, and it shows itself in the longevity. I don't know, Toddy. Like you said, it's there. You just have to look for it. It takes a little effort, and it's God, it's such an irony, that what makes it so hard to find good music is that we have access to so much music.
Yep.
That's really the problem. We're drowning in access to music, and to find that needle in a haystack gets more and more difficult. If there were only 15 bands, maybe we'd like one of them, but we wouldn't have to look forever to find them. So anyway, we're getting close to our 30 minutes. Actually, we're a little over, Toddy, but it never ceases to amaze me how easy it is to talk about good music and, just music in general. It's a passion for both of
Yeah,
us.
absolutely.
And man, I appreciate the opportunity to, have you as a partner talking about this
Been a
with
long
me.
time.
So,
This is, but what I'm finding is there's several others that share this same level of passion. And
right.
the fact that this has reached out and I guess you'd say pull some of those in it's been really neat
Yeah.
with the conversations. And in fact, we had Chris Paget on 2 episodes ago. Another, ironically, his name's Chris as well. Has watched a couple, the episodes and has, he wants to be on this and that. He's a little younger than we are, so we'll get a little bit
That ain't
different
hard.
perspective. He's more metal and 80s. He, like I said, I think Chris is 55. So it'll, I do want to get y'all two hooked up so you can get him on,
Yeah.
whatever you got to do to get him in, and we'll have a guest. I want to have Turtle on.
Turtle. Yeah, I was going to say Turtle's got to come.
Yeah, and we'll get that worked out. But still got a lot of topics to cover. Do we want to touch on our new music minute?
Go ahead.
Lucas Nelson and the Promise of the Real. You talking about organic?
Wow.
Absolutely incredible.
Lucas Nelson
and the Promise of the Real.
Relationship to Willie Nelson.
Son.
Huh.
Kudos, wow. Willie. Yeah. Smoking weed and planting seeds.
There you go.
But it's not country like Dad. It's more of a, I'm going to say in the Warren Haynes, Tedeschi Trucks kind of wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Very good. Give him a listen, and you and I'll discuss that next time we talk.
All right, man. Sounds good. Sounds like something I would enjoy. Like somebody mentioned to me a couple of weeks ago. Surround yourself with people that suggest new music. And
there you go.
Cheers, Toddy. Enjoyed it, man.
Have a good one. See you, brother.
Bye.